Hello, hi, and welcome to Empathic Fire. I am your reader, Jay. These are going to be general messages for the sign of Scorpio in January 2019. What's up, Scorpio? How are you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Happy New Year. Hope you guys were celebrating, well, not that I hope you were celebrating, but if you were celebrating, I hope it was with people that you love and who love you back, and that you had a fabulous time, and that you rang in the new year with good cheer and great laughs and love and affection and all that good stuff. And even if you were at home asleep on your couch, curled up with your dog, I hope the same for you. I hope it was a fabulous night. And so far, what are we, almost 2 weeks? Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I'm almost 2 weeks into the month, so I hope everything so far in 2019 has gone well for you guys. A little bit of the lateness is due to the fact that I was sick. Basically right after New Year's, like the next day, I got a cold and I suffered with it for like 3 days, and then I started to record videos and it just, took the energy right out of me. So anyway, that's enough about me. Let's talk about you guys. 6-card spread there, shuffled off camera to sort of save time, but if you know me, if you've been around my channel for a while, I talk a lot, it goes for a long time, sorry about it, but not really sorry. What I'm going to do now is shuffle for your outcome and your overall energy. Once all those cards are out and everything is lying face up, that's when the reading begins. I will put that timestamp down in the description box for you. You will also find down there in the description box, you're going to find the information you need if you want to get a personal reading with me. You send me an email, I confirm that I received your email, you send me a payment, you receive a video that answers whatever question you have sent me. It's pretty simple. But if you do have questions, you can also email me, okay? Not tarot questions, but questions of the process, I suppose. Anyway, let's go ahead and get your outcome, Scorpio, okay? Scorpio, outcome, January 2019, please. There she is again. What? Okay, look. Scorpio. As I was shuffling, number one, your shuffle came out the fastest so far of any sign that I've done. So that's one thing. Two, I believe I'm not following astrology too hard these days, but I'm pretty sure there's something significant going on in Aries energy right now. And so during your meditation and during the shuffle, felt spicy, and even now, in my intro, I know I was a little spicy, a little more sassy than I normally am. And in my personal life, I've noticed the spice is high. And the Queen of Wands showed up here. He's been here before. There's a lot of very bolstering energy going on, big bombastic energy going on right now, Scorpio. So maybe that's what's going on in your life. Maybe you're feeling that energy too. I don't know, but yeah. And plus, just synchronicities and stuff like that. It's always weird to get confirmation in some kind of way. So anyway, let's go ahead and flip your final card here. Enough of the chit chat. Oh, look at that. And let's see what's going on for you guys in January. Please show me Scorpio in January 2019. Please show me Scorpio in January. Please show me where Scorpio is for January. Again, please. Okay, good. Thank you. So, a few signs have had this where they've kind of been in more than one spot, but kind of, for clarity and in order to do my readings the way I've designed them, I need one particular spot. So, they indicated you're here and here, but mostly here. So that's what we're going to start with. Coming into January, Scorpio, coming as the Emperor. Card of Aries. And like I just said, Aries is a big time player right now astrologically, I believe. And so you might have an Aries person around you, but if you don't, then it's about the energy. It's about the qualities of the card, and yeah. So what they're drawing me to is the actual posture of the Emperor, okay? He's seated on a throne, right? Or assumingly in a throne room. And he's wearing clothes that you would assume would mean he's kind of like overseeing something formally. Maybe he should be, to a certain extent, relaxed. Or, not relaxed, but basically, the Emperor is the King of Kings, right? And he has conquered several kingdoms to enhance his empire. Therefore, he was at one point out in the battlefield. Often, and you don't really see it here, I don't even think it's here, but often in other depictions of this card, the Emperor is wearing armor as well as a robe, right? Here, he's really only wearing that robe. So to me, that means like business, like I'm handling, you know, sort of the more corporate, and that's the best word I can use because I don't know what you would call it back then, but I'm handling the more corporate aspects of running my empire. So if we stick with the medieval theme, he would be having meetings with dukes and earls, and he would be talking about, you know, what's going on over here, what's going on over there, like managing, right? Managing. But the posture, I feel, is he doesn't really want to be doing that. He doesn't really want to be managing, or he doesn't really want to micromanage specifically the situation. He kind of just wants this this empire of his to run on its own. He doesn't want to have to oversee other people or check up on other people. He doesn't want to have conversations with, you know, his leadership team, so to speak, things like that. And for you, for you, Scorpio, I'm feeling like it's sort of like that. It's like you're having to hold someone's hand or hold people's hands or talk people through a certain procedure or check up on people after a job has been delegated. And it's kind of like, well, I told you, you have clear instructions. Why are we in this meeting? Or why are we having this conversation? And there is this intention in his eye line there that's somewhere else. If we are in his throne room and let's assume there's someone in front of him, you know, reporting to him, we have reports, my lord, of da-da-da, and over here there's a raid going on here, and we're seeing ships come in from the south, and blah, blah, blah. You know, someone is reporting to him, but he's like looking out the window, or he's looking at something else in the room, and his mind or his intention and his energy is just like not fully where he is. So some of you could be sitting at work, in meetings, at school, in lecture, in your home, listening to your kids talk about their days at school, whatever you're doing, and you're just like not fully there. You're not really present. Like you're physically present and you're keeping, you know, as much of a ear out as possible to the conversation that's going on, but ultimately you're kind of like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I don't want to listen to this. The situation, whatever it is, work, family, school, wherever this is happening for you, you feel that it should be to a certain point that it sort of runs itself. Like, my input here is not necessary, or me hearing your anecdotes is not necessary. Like, senseless talking or senseless meetings or senseless, to you, they feel senseless. Just purposeless interactions are all around you, you feel. And I feel, going back to what I said about him being a conqueror and the King of Kings, I feel the Emperor, to kind of keep with that allegory, in this particular instance, is like in his head reminiscing over the good times of the past, reliving his glory days, reliving his days out on the battlefield where he felt alive and he felt as if he was earning and relishing in the legend he was building for himself. Like, that's super grand terms, and so you can apply that however you want to your life. But maybe you're sitting in the middle, and we all do that. We daydream, we break off from reality, and we go into the recesses of our mind or whatever. So maybe that's what's going on with you. And the jester there, the fool character behind him is kind of like, sir, your feedback, or what do you think, sir? And someone might be like, snapping you to reality. Hello, wake up, Scorpio. And you're just like, huh? Yeah, sure. Let's go with the merger. Let's do that. You might be making big decisions, but you're kind of like I said, you're not super present. And that's the thing is, like, even if you're not a boss or you're not in charge of anything, if you're not a manager or a business owner or anything like that, in any particular position of leadership, because the emperor is one of the ultimate leaders. Well, he and the empress together are the ultimate leaders, right? So even if you're not that, I still feel as if there's some type of power or some type independence. Thank you. Okay, so if it's not about power and leadership, it would be about your independence. So some of you are looking at the responsibilities in your life. We all have those moments. You're like, how the hell did I end up here? I've got 6 kids. I've been married twice. What? And you're like thinking back to your days when you were 18, 19, 24 years old. And you're just like, huh? How did I get here? And then you sit and you realize, holy hell, I'm 50 years old. I have 5 or 6 kids. I'm halfway through a mortgage that's going to take me another 30, 40 years to pay off. What? When did this happen to me? So some of you are kind of having like that reflection back on the past. And, okay, thank you. And like I mentioned, right? His eye line, pick that right back up. His eye line, right? He's looking off into space, right? He's spaced out a little bit. And when you put him back down on the table here, he's looking directly at the sun card, which again is your secondary. Well, not secondary, but it's where they were indicating you were also here. So you're spending a lot of time gazing into the sun, essentially. Now, if you're literally doing that, I don't think that's a good idea. It's not good for your eye health, right? But basically, the sun is about happiness. It's about joy, contentment. It's about sort of standing in the spotlight, similar to how that guy's posture is or how his position is. It looks like he's backlit by this wonderful orb of light, yeah? And so it's that basking in and soaking up the warmth of joy, of the overwhelming feelings of happiness and maybe even sometimes giddiness or just like absolute contentment. And I feel there's a little bit of like a wall here, like again, like looking out a window. And like I said, for some of you, maybe this is a school thing. You're in the middle of a lecture, a bio lecture, or even an English lecture. And I even though I was an English major, I spaced out in plenty of those. And you're just like daydreaming and you're fantasizing perhaps. And there is this intent, even though, and I'm saying that, even though I'm saying some of you are fantasizing or fixated on a memory, there is still this very future-oriented energy that I get here, which is maybe for some of you, it's an issue of going back to, getting in touch with, again, whatever it is that brings you this contentment, whatever brings you this vast amount of joy and pleasure. In some cases, this is about pleasure, all right? Or like I said, the spotlight. If some of you have been absent from the spotlight, maybe you're a singer, a dancer, a musician, I don't know. You could even be doing stuff on YouTube or other social platforms where basically, you rack up the likes, you rack up the views, but, the holidays were happening, right, recently, and maybe you had to, take a break and spend time with your family, or, you needed a mental break, you needed some cleansing going on from a detox from that kind of energy, and now you're like, okay, I'm ready to get back out there, I'm ready to stand on center stage and, perform for people, or record videos and share it and get what I need going. So there's a revitalization, thank you, for some of you that is necessary. And again, I feel it's future. Like this is like what you are hoping for, what you're kind of plotting for, like to hell with a merger, to hell with a lecture, to hell with whatever's going on right now. all that stuff is boring. You're like, yeah. So about me and my joy and what makes me happy, I want to go to that. And so other people are basically nuisances to you. They're like little gnats in your ear, like buzzing around. You're just like, shut up. This has nothing to do with how I'm going to be getting back to this. Let's talk about that. So you might be, again, a leader, someone who is successful, or someone who, like I said, is independent, but there is still something missing. So, you know, going back to that business example of like merging or you know, attaining assets and increasing your empire as the emperor, right? That's all good on paper. You're making money. You're you know, setting aside your charitable contributions. You're doing everything that a business leader is supposed to do. But there's something in you that isn't feeling this. There's a disconnect there. You're longing for this energy. Really, Scorpio, you are longing for it. And I didn't mention it before. I mentioned it here. This is the secondary card of Leo, so there might be a Leo of significance for some of you. But that's just to cover my bases for anybody who's like, oh, you didn't say it. I did. I said it just now. And the interesting... Okay, ooh. That's an interesting angle. Tell me more about that. For some of you, fewer of you, there's like a discrepancy here, or a jealousy. Ooh, I love that part of that opera. I love that part. Anyway, because you see the man in this card, he's facing, if you put him down right there, he's facing off with the emperor. They're locking eyes. So it could be a jealousy thing where you're stuck at work and you have a best friend, a sibling, whoever, and they're on Facebook or Twitter or IG, and they're just like taking pictures of their life, you know, winter in the Bahamas, hashtag, you know, whatever. I don't know what, I don't do hashtags really, so I can't come up with any super clever ones off the top of my head. But so you could be looking at someone who is literally basking in the sun, taking an extended holiday, away from work, away from school, wherever, in a sunny place, and you're just like, they're on the beach, they're drinking a Mai Tai, and here I am in the cold, dead winter of Chicago, and you're just like a little salty, a little jealous. If it's not that, if it's not another person and there's a jealousy thing or an envy thing going on, it could be another person that you desire in a relationship sense, whether that be a business relationship or a romantic relationship, and this person is in the spotlight. This person is to some degree famous or known, and they themselves exude this type of joy and happiness and just exhilarated energy, and it's very beautiful. This person is very attractive to you. And they see you back, but there's this, you can't, I don't see it, but I feel it. There is a barrier between you and them. There's a definite barrier. Work obligations, right? Distance, perhaps. I go to school in Chicago. They live in Sydney, Australia. You know, we've been talking on Instagram, you know. Maybe you slid up in somebody's DMs, or they slid up in your DMs, and maybe you're having like this flirtatious thing, and, you know, you're getting to know this famous person, this social famous person, and it's just like, I want to be with them. But, you know, tickets to Melbourne, or excuse me, tickets to, or Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne, whatever, but tickets to Australia aren't cheap. Tickets to Chicago aren't cheap. So there is a limit to how much you can connect with that sun energy, and Scorpio. I will again reiterate, the intention is there. It's like, no, man, that's my goal. I got to get there. I got to get to Sydney. I got to get myself to the Dominican Republic. Whatever the sun represents to you, whoever the sun represents to you, there is like this heavy fixation on it. You could be jealous, you could be envious, or you could be, most of you are just highly desirable of that person, of that situation, or that energy that's going to bring you that joy and contentment. And, yeah, I can't say for sure about that yet, so never mind. Now, what else is going on here? So I think there's just like a break. Is that right? A break? Yeah. Interesting. We went all to the majors. Okay, thank you. So not a lot, but your first 3 cards are the major arcana cards that you have in the main spread, and the rest will be the minor. So that may or may not mean something to you. And well, let me tell you what I feel, like why they're even highlighting that information to me. What I feel is like this is the broad overview of what's going on, and I think when we get to the minors, we're going to get into more specifics. We're going to see like more of the background of the thing. I think now what we're getting is the general impression of what's going on in your life. And generally speaking, you're about your own, not about, but you are definitely, you're firm. You're planted firmly in whatever you're doing in terms of your job, in terms of your family life or whatever. Everything is established. Your mind, your intention, your energy, what you are hoping for, what you are secretly or not so secretly, it depends on what you've been saying and how you've been behaving in front of others, is attracted to something that's big and bright and shiny and gorgeous and just beautiful, right? The next broad stroke in the overview of what's going on with you, Scorpio, is the Hangman energy. Yes, thank you. Okay. So I mentioned, I think I did. Yes. Conquering, control, calling the shots, managing, micromanaging, all that kind of stuff. All of that is anchored in control, right? Anchored in this idea of possession or being possessive of the self, autonomous, independent, strong, not necessarily relenting, more of a negotiator than someone who is interested in relinquishment. I'll negotiate, I will not relinquish. That is definitely the Emperor. And even in the negotiation, he's gonna play hardball, right? The Hangman comes right beneath him, and I think this is sort of the struggle that you're facing right now, Scorpio, is to let all that go. You know, loosen the grip. The Hangman, if you can see, obviously he's hanging upside down, and I'm only going to show you this card upside right so you can sort of see his face. Look at his face. For a man who's got blood rushing to his head, he looks a little contented. He looks a little happy. He's got a little bit of a smirk there. Maybe you could say because gravity is pulling his face down, Jane, it looks like he's smiling. No, I've hung upside down, and I've seen people hung upside down. You don't look happy when you do it. So there is this kind of willful releasing, willful not openness, but just like weight lifted or weight released. Something is let go. And normally this is about your mindset, or normally this is about something going on spiritually with you. But I literally think for you, Scorpio, it is this need or this obligation for some of you, because some of you feel like you don't need to. It's more of like, well, because I am the manager, because I am the head of the household, because I am indebted to the banks, I have to do this. And of course, if you're indebted to the bank, I'm not saying, you know, pull a Wesley Snipes in here and don't pay your taxes or don't pay your bills, you know. But you certainly feel bound to whatever role you are placed in, okay? This is saying, as best as you can, let go of some of that responsibility. Let go of some of that control. Not responsibility, but feeling of obligation. Feeling as if you have no choices. Feeling as if you're stuck or you're bound. And find some kind of freedom. Again, it could just be a state of mind. Even if you show up to work every day. Even if you work a 10-hour shift every day. Find small moments within that day where you take on this Hangman energy. That could literally be for some of you, and I say it all the time, that could be literally for some of you finding time to do a meditation or some type of ritual, some type of affirmation ritual every morning before you get in your car or before you hop in the shower, you look yourself in the mirror and you say to yourself, whatever you need to say, whatever mantra you concoct for yourself or that you find in a Google search, I don't care. And you just repeat that. There's something about, and that's the thing about the Hangman, he puts himself in this position. He welcomes it. He's open to it. So he is open to the act of surrender, the act of opening himself up and basically bartering is what I'm feeling. Bartering with the universe, bartering with his God, his spirits, whoever. Basically saying, I will continue to fulfill my duties and be a productive member of society, to be a good father. Emperor is also associated with fatherhood. I'll be a great father to my kids. I'll be a great mother to my kids. Whatever your role is, I will maintain that role, but please in some other way, God, spirit, angels, whatever you believe, aliens, I don't care what you believe in. And you ask them to open you in other ways. And so every day, we don't really see it, but every day, or whenever he takes periodic breaks from being strung up this way, the Hangman willingly climbs up there, ties his own ankle up there, and he suspends himself for a while. So at some point in your day, Scorpio, you might want to literally, like I said, participate in a ritual, an affirmation ritual, participate in meditation or prayer, or actively declare what you want out loud to the universe. A lot of people say that, speak it into life, right? A lot of people go in for that stuff. I'm one of them, actually, so I shouldn't say a lot of people. Where if you speak it if you speak it enough, it will come into existence. It's not enough to pray on it or think on it or meditate. Sometimes you actually have to speak. And in other cases, to take it even a step further, you actually have to do. So that's where the ritual comes in, where maybe it is literally meditation, prayer, saying the affirmation to yourself every morning in the mirror. Or in some cases, if you're not into all that mumbo jumbo, and I don't know why you wouldn't be if you're watching a tarot reading, but let's say you weren't super into the spiritual aspect of it or anything like that. You then would have to find some other type of ritual that frees you, that turns your power over, or allows you to unplug from this very in some cases prescriptive, or at least, like I said, obligatory role that you play. That could involve exercise for some of you, reading a book. I don't know what you want to do. You could, maybe it's for some of you a creative endeavor. So like I said earlier, some of you are like famous or you're creative and you've been away from that. Okay, so get back into the studio, go back into your workshop, do whatever you're doing, get back in front of the camera, get back in front of the microphone, and find that way of releasing these. This is a heavy, it's I was gonna say it's not burdensome, and then they totally yanked that word right out of my mouth. And they're like, because I was going off of the traditional understanding of the emperor, which is usually kind of stepping into the burden of leadership or the heaviness of being an emperor and almost reveling in it. And they took that word out of my mouth, burden, and they were like, look right there. And I was just like, oh, 9 of Wands. Duh. So it is for some of you a burden to have to be, not to say like you want to abandon being the boss or abandon being a great parent or anything like that. It's not that you begrudge what you have. You actually love what you have. The emperor loves being the emperor at the end of the day. He would have it no other way. So you do like what you have. You do like your position. It's just like there are certain facets of it that aren't going the way you want it. Therefore, it feels burdensome. Okay? And again, some of you just need a detox or to unplug, go and meet that person down in Australia, or go and just lay out on a beach in Hawaii and freaking relax. Right? Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly what's been going on. And this is sort of in the back, right? Again, if we look at the eye line of the emperor looking at the sun looking back at the emperor, and there's this little, pardon my French, there's this little eye fucking thing going on there. For some of you, maybe. And in the back of the emperor, or towards the back of him, away from his eye line, you've got this 9 of Wands. So to me, that's indicating in the backdrop of the Emperor's life, again, your life, you're borrowing into this Aries archetype, is this Nine of Wands energy. So maybe at the start of your Emperor's journey, wherever you've kind of but kind of peaked, wherever you've peaked in your journey as a father, a mother, a business owner, a model, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You at some point were here. This could very well, we can't tell, like there's no great descriptors in their illustration. There's no way that we could tell, but maybe this is how you were 20 years ago. The Emperor, he's got a white beard. This guy kind of looks like Jonathan Van Ness a little bit. Young, brown hair, just a little bit of a mustache and a tiny little soul patch. And now full beard, right? So this could have been you years ago, weeks ago, months ago. I don't know, take your pick. But the start of this whole thing, of how you got to this place of power and control and feeling however you feel as the Emperor, right? It started from a place of defensiveness. It started from a place of burden. It already started with a burden. So, or thank you, of acting out of necessity, acting out of protection, acting out of a need to secure yourself. So if you are a boss, if you are a manager or a VP or whatever at your company, and you call a lot of shots and you make deals and all that kind of stuff, perhaps your journey started because you needed a job and you applied. You had student bills coming, you had rent to pay, and not to say those things don't exist now, but there was such a need, such a dire need for you to get a good paying job. So you found a good enough paying job, and then you, over the years, have worked yourself up to this position of manager, of VP, whatever you are, right? When you were first getting together with your partner in the marriage, maybe things were rocky at the start of your relationship. Maybe the relationship you're in now, maybe it came on the tail end of a relationship that wasn't so great. So the starting point for whatever you're doing, Scorpio, kind of is rooted in a little bit of discomfort. Like I said, burden. Feeling caught up for some of you? Tell me more about that. I want to know about that caught up energy. Feeling caught up in what? Caught up in the struggle? Come on now. Who are you? My guides are so funny. They go from like giving me language from like the 1920s to like, the struggle. What? Anyway, what does that mean? Caught up in the struggle, caught up in the rat race, caught up in sort of the modern trappings of Western society, basically, is how they're making me feel about it. Like, I do these things because I have to, not because I want to. If I was doing exactly what I want, it wouldn't be this, it would be that. And so going, and okay, thank you. Because now they want to talk about that potential relationship for some of you. This is not for everybody, obviously. Because not all Scorpios are in relationships, and not all Scorpios are going to feel what I'm about to say. Some of you are in a relationship now that started as a burden, continues to be a burden, and you stuck it through. Why? Kids. We own the property together. Some of you are like, well, this is my husband. This is my wife. This is it. And you are lusting, hardcore lusting. Because the Emperor also, he is lustful, not just in a sexual way. He is lustful in, I want what I want. If I set my sight on something and I say I want it, and that's it. Aries is like that too. Okay, Aries, if you know an Aries, like I know a few Aries, when they want it, and they're going to go after it. And they are usually very successful. But anyway, and I'm not trying to enforce or infuse or interject some type of affair, cheating scenario. No, nothing like that. I'm not feeling that. But what I am feeling is this, at the core of you, that you started something out of this need, out of needing to not conform, but certainly get your ducks in a row. To start your empire, no empire starts out of the blue. Literally. You're either past the baton or past the torch, past the, the scepter of power, and you inherit it, which is, I guess, essentially out of the blue, but the actual start of whatever empire you're talking about came through a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on somebody's part. So that's what's going on in the background of you. In response to? Okay. Astro. Ooh. Okay. So that needing to step up to the plate, essentially, handle your business, take care of your obligations, take care of your responsibilities, get yourself ahead in the rat race, however that resonates with you. Some of you, it was in response to this Queen of Coins, aka Queen of Pentacles energy. Now, this Queen of Wands, this Queen of Coins is very interesting to me. Ooh. I think in terms of business and or family, some of you have a leader in your family, a matriarch or a patriarch, but it does feel like a feminine energy, so apply that as it may. It doesn't mean that it's a female, but the energy itself is feminine. But there's a leader in your family. Grandparent, mother, great aunt, older cousin, older sibling, I don't care. But someone who, before this moment where you started, was quite established in their power, quite established in their influence and their dominion over things going on in the business or in the family. Okay? In front of her, she's got someone bowing, kneeling in front of her, carrying scrolls, and on either side of her, she's got a lot of scrolls. She's got that coin there, and she's got her crown on the ground. So this person is established. And now, talking about those scrolls, they're showing me, scenes from, movies, especially, movies in the 80s or the 90s, where you go into the office, and the boss is on the telephone, there's papers everywhere on their desk, they're sitting there, their jackets on the back of the chair, and they're just, busy making deals, and tell them we're not taking less than 15%, and they smash the phone down, they hang the phone up, and they're just, the secretary creeps in, and is like, excuse me, boss, what do you want? And it's just this very strong, and even though what I'm saying might sound masculine, it's actually coming from someone who has a feminine, not necessarily behavior or disposition, but there is an iron fist in a velvet glove is what I'm feeling. And this could have been a boss of yours, former boss, or a mentor, or someone in a professional sense. This could have been, like I said, a mother figure, or someone older in your family who was basically helping to bring you up. And I feel that, not that you are that secretary, Scorpio, but you have that energy of watching this person, getting to know their mannerisms, getting to know their sensibilities, and being very sensitive to it, and feeling like you can't mess up around this person. You can't let them down. You can't let them see you struggle. You can't let them see you break a sweat whenever they call your name. Scorpio! And that's you, gasping for air. Get in here! And it's so I feel you watched this person, the way that they led the company, the way they led the family, the way that they controlled a room, and you basically took your cues from them. You took notes on that. How to be a leader in a business. Be like the Queen of Coins. She's not necessarily being cruel to that person who's kneeling in front of her, but she certainly isn't being nice to him either all the time. It's towing the line between, being too much to bear, but then, God, I don't want to say that because I think that's it's becoming a word that, people want to throw around every 5 seconds, but it is sort of like that narcissistic energy in a way, where a narcissist often lays bait for an empath, right? So butters you up, gives you a couple compliments, pats you on the back, and then all of a sudden dejects you and insults you, or gives you a halfway compliment. It's like this, thank you. They gave me a better word. So don't necessarily adhere to narcissists, but there's like an emotional manipulation or emotional abuse with this person. Some of you may have experienced that, or you just watched it. And I don't think you're taking all of your cues from this person, because for you, Scorpio, I don't think that most of you are doing that. I don't think most of you are exhibiting that type of behavior where you're taking advantage of people, or you're emotionally baiting people and then like abusing them emotionally, or, you know, slinging insults as you cross, you know, walk to your office and somebody get me a coffee. You know, you're not being abusive that way. I don't think so. But you may have worked for or lived with someone who behaved in that way. That would cause you to be defensive, to be guarded, to feel like, okay, if this is the person that you're working with, or your mentor at work, you know, eventually over the years you're going to work alongside them closely and maybe one day replace them. So that makes you defensive. But you're also open, because that's the thing. He's got that line, going back to this Nine of Wands card, right? He's got that line of wands, which creates sort of like a little fence or a barrier, right? But in the front, it's open. So there's this dual thing going on, Scorpio, where you're guarded enough as to not fall prey to this person's abuse, but you are also open in the sense of you often went to this person or interacted with this person in such a way that it created a bond between you, or some type of reciprocal relationship where, yeah, you're fetching the coffee now, but in 5 years, I'm going to be sitting at that conference table right alongside you. And then boom, that's exactly what you did. And then when you were sitting there and you no longer had to fetch the coffee, in your mind, you made new plans. Okay, now that I've been here for 5 years and I'm sitting at this table, I think in the next 7 years, I'm going to become a partner in this company. And then you became partner. And then you steadily outpaced this Queen of Coins. And that's to be expected. And didn't I say that? I gave some type of allegory, or I had a visual in my mind of passing of a baton or passing on of a scepter, right? So in terms of a business or a family, you took over this person. In rank or the actual position, you took their shit. So if this is a mom, you're the mom now. She's the grandma, or she's the great grandma, and she's, you know, sitting over there mumbling to herself, back in my day, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, okay, and you're being the go-get-it mom right now. You're being the mom who's in control right now. Now, that is sort of this energy that's not past, because I think it's still relevant. I think this energy is still impactful on you, or it's impactful because right now it could be something that you're reminiscing on, or it could be something that's like being drudged up from your memories. So it's past, but it's also very much prominent in your mind right now. And that could be it. If you learn lessons from this person, I don't know why I'm putting on like this demonic voice for this, what I said is a feminine energy, but it's like, take no prisoners. Make sure you go in there and you grab them by you're like, that could have been like lessons this person was giving you. Like, this is how you conduct a business meeting. Watch. And they showed you just a slew of ways to be an awful person, an awful boss, an awful mother, or just lead and just be annihilating people one moment and then all the others, and then the next minute. And then this is what happens when after you get them in on the ropes, after you get them quivering in a corner, then you go over and you pat their head and you say you did a good job. And I don't know why I'm putting on like this terrible New York accent, but that's what's going on. So you've learned that from this person. And that comes right next to that Hangman. You need to, in some ways, let that go. Let those lessons go. You're already here. You're already established in some kind of way. You already have this podium that you, or this placement that you can stand on, this podium that you can stand at. Let go of some of that nastiness. Or let go of how For some of you, maybe you feel a little guilty that you took a lot of that advice on earlier in your career, earlier in your life as a parent. You raised your kids a little bit with iron fist within the velvet glove kind of tactic, and now you're just like, no, man, I shouldn't have said that to my kids. So maybe you have regrets. Let that go. Be better for tomorrow, you know? You kind of have to relinquish the impact of this person. Okay? On the far side of that, okay, you've got this King of Wands energy. Now, this King of Wands is kind of funny. Like, first of all, the perspective is different, right? He's kind of like far away. I don't know how many tarot decks you guys look at or tarot readings you look at online, but the King of Wands, all the kings, or I shouldn't say all, many times the court cards are very prominent. They place the king or queen directly in the center of the frame of the card, and it's kind of a mid to close-up range. This is like a far away range, right? He's like towards the back of this card, in the back, almost to the background, right? Or not almost to the background, but I hope you see what I mean. Like, the perspective is more distant. So for some of you, twofold. Remember, sun person, it could be an energy or it could be another person. This could be them at a distance from you. Very much accomplished, very much, you know, their own person. A lot of autonomy here with the king. A lot of ownership of their own passions and their desires and their sexuality or sexualness in some cases. And there's just like this, he's posted up, right? He's kind of almost posing or like he's not living for anybody else. He lives for himself, right? He's not trying to impress anybody. If this is, I don't know many kings, and well, first of all, I don't know any kings personally, but it's just not a pose that you would expect of somebody who's so regal, who's so essentially formal. So they might have this air about them that is, yeah, I'm cool, or yeah, I'm powerful, or yeah, I know I have influence, but they're not letting it get to their head. Like the King of Wands, obviously related to fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, they can be King of Wands. He can be an egotistical person, but actually they're pretty much not an egotistical person. But that depends on where you're coming from and how you view this person. So, and the reason I say that is because he does have that mirror there. So some people will see this King of Wands person and they'll say, oh, they're so full of themselves, they're so conceited, blah, 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 blah. And other people, based on what I said about the perspective and being so far in the background or towards the background of this card, is that he's not featured prominently. So some people will say, no, he or she is actually pretty down to earth. They're actually, even though, I mean, they could have an ego, you know, they have every right to, they're famous or they're really popular for whatever reason in whatever realm we're talking about, but actually they're actually pretty humble. So that could be the qualities of the person that you're kind of desiring or staring at, dreaming about in the Sun card. And for some of you, this person kind of embodies what you want to be. Not in a downgrade, because, well, maybe in a downgrade. Like I said, some of you want to not have this responsibility, not have this level of duty and obligation in your life that the Emperor has. And so to literally downgrade your position would be to come down and become a king. Like I said, the Emperor is the king of kings, okay? So some of you literally don't want to be the head of the household. You want your husband or your wife to step up to the plate. Look, I've been the bread earner in this place for the last 15 years. What are you doing? It could be something like that. Or you've been making the kids lunch every day for the past 15 years. You know what, Sam? Why don't you get in the kitchen and spread some peanut butter on some fucking bread? That's twice. I gave you 2 F-bombs. I apologize. Because I curse like a sailor in my regular life, but Aries energy, man, I've cursed a lot in... Side note, I've cursed a lot in all the other videos. You're the first that I gave the F-bomb to. So I apologize if that offends anybody, because that's not one of my goals here. But at the same time, it's like the energy is like that. Like, just keeping it real. Shooting from the hip. Raw. Keep it 100. Okay? So some of you are saying that to your partner. Look, I have been manning this ship. I've been at the wheel. I've been at the helm forever. What are you doing around here to help me? Or what are you doing in here to offset all the weight that's on my shoulders as I have to take the lead around here? Others of you, it's just you're feeling that your time in the business, whether it's a big company, small company, independent ownership, or whatever you're doing, you're just like, you know what? I've been at the helm here a lot. Let's hear from other people at the meeting here. Let's see what everybody else wants to hear, because you might be ready to sort of do what happened to you, but do it better and begin grooming your predecessor, right? Who could be the Sun card? Whether they live in Australia or not, there is this connection to this side from the Emperor as well. What was the other aspect that I was going to talk about? There was something else when I picked this card up, and I was just like, oh yeah, that's also cool. But now I can't remember. That I've forgotten what it was, but how about how it applies to Scorpio? Anything for that? Because again, I feel like these two people are definitely separate from you. I feel you're pretty solid here, and a little bit here. Again, if it's not a separate person, it's just an energy or a state of mind or a state of being that you want to be in. But I feel you're definitely kind of in these 4 cards. How does this apply to Scorpio, please? Oh. Okay. Right. Okay. So if we compare, and again, this is like very heavily a business reading or a family reading, and if that doesn't apply to you, I apologize, but this is what has come out. Now, remember how I said before about the Queen of Wands, or excuse me, I keep saying the Queen of Wands. I know she's there, but I don't know why. The Queen of Coins, excuse me, how she's got that person bowing in front of her, or kneeling in front of her rather, and she's kind of like smarmy and she's kind of smirky about having people at her beck and call. And then this King of Wands, he's just like in the room by himself. He might be looking at himself in that mirror, can't really tell, but he's just like, again, he's not facing, like the Queen is facing front. Yeah, look who's over there, King of Cups. They're both, this guy is like giving you profile. So he's a little eccentric. He's a little, off the beaten path in terms of what the court cards personalities usually do. So that could be the difference between who you were and who you want to be, or where you cut your teeth, how you were trained to be a leader, how you learned to be a mother or a father. And this is the King of Wands, is the way you actually want to run the ship, the way you want to lead around here. So he is still in a position of power. He outranks the Queen simply because that's the way the cards go. Page, Knight, Queen, King. That's how they're ranked. And he's at a different suit. The coins related to earth energy is very much about stability, very much about predictability, very much about what is done is going to continue to be done that way, like heritage and history and tradition. Wands is a lot more about change and dynamic energy and being inspired and being more led around by passion and imagination, much less adherent to the rules. So there's a difference between those two energies, or in those two leadership styles, whether that's in business, in a family, in a friendship circle. I don't know what kind of leader or example of leadership applies to you, but there's that difference. And in between is that hangman energy. So like I said before, letting go of what's going on over here, finding a different perspective on it, being open, thank you, again, relinquish, release, being open and willing to let the control ease away from you. You get there. The King of Wands, all the kings are just a few steps away from the emperor. Because the emperor is the head of a company, head of a family that sort of runs like a well-oiled machine. And like I was saying at the top, his input isn't really necessary. It's like, we have to convene a meeting of the board. The board has to meet, and like you have to show up because it's a board meeting. Or it's a meeting of the partners, so you have to show up. But Monday to Friday for like 44 weeks of the year, or even more than that, maybe even like 48 weeks of the year, you're not in the office. You just know you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, and it's substantial. That's the level of the emperor for some of you. And to step down, quote unquote, step down to the level of the king of wands, or any of the kings, would mean, I gotta show up 38 weeks a year. I have to go to not only board meetings or meetings of the partners, I also have to go out and be a part of the philanthropic events, and I have to show up at dinners and galas and all this. I'm speaking of like really high shit, of course, but if that's not your life, tone it down and apply it where it is. So it's like, at the same time that you it's like stepping down, but not to some totally different way of being. It's like, instead of living on the penthouse, you live in a suite. Is it that much difference? I guess to some people it is. Now your outcome, finally we get to her. She's been slipping out of my mouth the entire time. Queen of Wands for your outcome. So this could be, they are here, this partnership. So this could speak to a partnership. This could speak to you, your husband, your wife, kind of coming to some agreements where maybe you swap roles, right? Because I did mention this for other readings, and yeah, it's kind of striking me now. You see how the Queen of Wands looks like she's strung up and she's kind of like on puppet strings, although there are no strings around her. And the King of Wands, he's kind of kicked back. He's kind of like just chilling, giving you that profile, right? So there could be a switching of roles or a reevaluation of roles in terms of your household. One of you has been kicked back. The other has been the one who feels as though they have no control over their life and their strings are being pulled. And so maybe now you reverse those roles, or maybe now you both come to terms with, and you're very honest about how you've been living in those roles, how you have been behaving as the father, as the mother, as whatever in the house, right? And you could apply that to business too. In other ways, come back to me, thank you. Other ways, I think I mentioned before, creativity. Ooh, is that it? Okay. So maybe for some of you, I think I mentioned like some of you might be stars. I keep saying stars, even though the star is not here, but it's giving me a similar energy to the Sun card, where some of you are in the limelight or want to be in the limelight or are moving towards and desiring being more prominent and known for something. For some of you, that might be a creative endeavor. I'm getting like fashion here for obvious reasons. I mean, look at that gown. Look at it. Okay. So some of you might be doing something in the fashion industry or photography or some type of art. And so the Queen of Wands, she looks a little tired. So maybe some of you might be taking on a little bit too much in terms of your actual 9-to-5 day job. And then you're also side hustling and, taking photographs of people and, getting commissions and stuff like that. But I'm feeling that this could be distantly tied to that hangman energy, because I said for some of you the prayer and the meditation and the affirmations won't be enough. You actually have to put action behind those words. So this would be that, and you would be a little a little bit tired, a little bit exhausted from having to do all those things. So not only do you work a full-time job, you're also a parent. And then on top of being a parent, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. Or some of you have, like I said, those limelight dreams. So maybe some of you are like, I'm going to take my life and I'm going to turn it into a stand-up comedy act. And yeah, that's number one, ballsy. And if you're doing that, go for it. Even if you don't succeed, you should at least try, right? So there's a lot. And I think if you're not going to fully downgrade from the emperor to the king or even the queen position, you would then swap what you're just pouring so much of your attention and energy into. Okay? So you're cutting corners at your day job so that you can have more time to do your creative endeavors for some of you, okay? Excuse me. Overall energy, lots of court cards here. There actually probably are more people than I'm calling out. All these court cards can be individual people, but energetically, I feel you're mostly possessing them yourself, or you're figuring out ways to incorporate aspects of these different court cards in yourself. Now, King of Cups, related to the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. So this could be you, Scorpio. This could be you. And I feel that he's kind of like this nice little middle ground, you know? Maybe he's Jonathan Van Ness with a haircut, okay? Because remember, the Jonathan Van Ness character kind of looks like he's there, right? So maybe he's like the slightly older version of the Nine of Wands, because he still looks a little bit of a brooding type. He still looks a little serious, but the Cups energy, water energy, your home turf, right, is soft. It's innately soft. It's naturally soft. It goes, not goes with, but it slithers and it seeps into, and therefore kind of dismantles anything that's hard. Like, you know, if you've ever had like a piece of clay or a mound of like dry dirt, throw some water on it, it becomes like putty, it becomes soft and malleable, right? So water has this softening agency or capability to it. So still a ruler, still in charge of things, still a master in that king's suit, or king's station, king's position, but again, a downgrade from the emperor, and soft. Perhaps the middle ground between the queen's iron fist, this little not showboaty, but kind of too kicked back, perhaps, for some of you. So maybe the middle ground is finding that King of Cups energy. I'm still going to be a leader. I will be a little soft, but at least I'm giving you that frontward pose. I'm not like giving you profile and acting like I don't care about anything. All right? What else? That's that. Okay. They were like, that's it. And I'm like, all right. So, according to them, Scorpio, that's the end of the reading. If you liked what you saw, there's a like button down below. Feel free to share the video across your different social media platforms. That would be great. I'd love to, you know, have you guys spread the word, as, you know, I'm limited. I'm only one person. Also, feel free to comment below. Let me know how the reading resonates with you. I love to hear feedback. I love to see where the work is impacting for you guys. And also, there is a subscription button down there. So if you're not already subscribed and you think you want to be, or maybe you're like halfway decided, I don't know, click it if you want to. If you don't want to, that's cool too. Anyway, Scorpio, I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back in a few weeks' time when I do your February 2019 readings. I look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Bye.